What if I ask you, what is your favorite memory from when you were a child? Well, that's exactly the question that I asked Sarah Verhoff as we began the podcast. And her story of what was important to her was amazing. I really loved it. The storytelling father and how elaborate things were. It was a beautiful thing. So you make sure that you listen. And we had so much discussion about business and her energy work and VIP days and um, problem clients and so many different things. But the funny thing is, we were having such a good time talking that we completely forgot we were recording it all. And so you don't want to miss it because it's amazing. So stay tuned. Welcome to my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. My name is Vicki Poole. I'm a master transformational coach and hypnotist specializing in habit change. And this podcast is sponsored by the Enlightened Peach. And it's all about embracing our mosaic life. And some of you may ask, what is a mosaic life anyway? Well, it is recognizing that all the pieces of our life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, have all come together to make us who we are. Change any one thing, and we are different. With that in mind, I invite you to embrace your perceived imperfections and celebrate who you are. This podcast is unedited and raw, just like life. And as I said, I am your host, and I have a special guest with me today that I'll introduce in just a moment. But before I do, I would love for you to do me a solid. Leave a comment, leave a question, and like, subscribe, and share. So now, let's get started. So this lovely lady right here is Sarah Verhoff. Did I say it right?
Pretty
Close?
close. Verhoff. It's good. Yeah.
Verhoff.
Yeah.
So before we really dive in, I'd love to ask you a question.
All
What
right.
is your favorite memory from when you were a child?
Oh, my favorite memory from when I was a child, my dad would, so we lived in a two-story home with a basement growing up in Oregon. And my dad would come up and tickle my back and he would tell these stories. And these stories were so magical. And they always included like unicorns and fairies. And I would shrink down really small and I would get to ride these fairies. And he would tell the stories so vividly that I was there. I was just there and I
Oh,
would
wow.
often drift off to sleep in the middle of a story while he was tickling my back. And that was just magical.
Oh, it sounds magical. I want your dad.
Right? He's a good one.
So, did he ever write these stories?
He didn't. He has written a handful of songs. And he taught himself to play guitar and I think guitar, but definitely piano by ear. And he can sing and he's just the thing with my dad is you just feel him.
Yeah.
You just feel it. So no, he hasn't written them down occasionally when he's telling a story because he is a phenomenal storyteller. And he actually will say how to make a short story long. And then we giggle. And then it is really, really long. But that's actually my favorite thing for my children to hear now is Grandpa, will you tell us a story? And
Ah,
sometimes Grandma, will you tell us a story? And it's so fun to see that through my children. So occasionally when I hear them starting, I'll hit record on my
I
on
was
my
going to
phone so I
ask.
can get that captured. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's gold. Yeah.
Ah, I love that. Oh, that is the best story I've heard.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. I love it. So, for everybody who's watching and listening, kind of tell them a little bit about who you are. And I know I'll just share real quick that we connected in a group that we're both in. Called I almost said the Audience Accelerator, but that's the wrong one. It is the Do the Thing Collaborative Network, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
So that's
that's where
where
we
we
met.
connected. So I'm so excited about learning a little bit about you and getting to know you. So for our listeners, go ahead and tell them just a little bit, and then we'll dive in and I'll ask you lots of questions.
Okay, cool. So I grew up in Oregon, a little tiny town called Redmond, Oregon, Central Oregon. It was beautiful, and I think I had a pretty awesome life. I'm the oldest of four. Um, and we weren't wealthy by any means. We'd get a once a year trip to the Kmart so we could get our clothing. But I never felt like I wanted my family always loved me. I felt loved and cared for, and we would have fun going to a lake, and it was wonderful. And then I ended up going to college in in Idaho. And then I went on a mission for my church and I lived in Spain for a year and a half. And so I'm still fluent in Spanish. And then I
Mm.
came home and I married my husband and we had five biological children and then adopted a 16-year-old once he was six when we adopted our 16-year-old. So we are a family of eight. And that's a little bit about me. I think is that what you wanted?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
that's perfect. That's
that's
perfect.
about me. It's not really what I do, but that's about me, and that's a big part of it all.
Well, it sounds amazing. I mean, that's you were the oldest of
Hmm.
four, right?
Hmm.
Well, then my family, there were four kids, and I was like the second, but there was a big gap between me and the next one. So it's like there's two little families, even though it's the same
Oh,
parents and everything. So there's 9 years difference between me and my younger sister, 11 years difference between me and my younger brother.
oh
And
wow,
so I kind of have that. I'm the oldest child and I'm the baby too. I'm the middle child. I just have them all, you know?
wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So you being the oldest, you have probably a lot of, have you ever studied any of the family dynamics of birth order and all that?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So are you a true firstborn?
Oh, absolutely.
You're in charge, right?
I am in charge. In fact, we have a family. We were joking around today. My husband asked our kids to do something, and he's like, "They're all leaders. They're all leaders." And so we just have a whole family full of type A, red leaders, do it, take charge. And so it's funny. I have a hard time letting letting one take charge and everybody else kind of taking the orders. It's funny.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. As I was studying about the birth order and everything, I could see me in each one of those little pieces, because being the middle child, I wanted to keep peace in everything. I wanted
Yeah.
everybody to be getting along. And I even would find that happening for me when I was working a job. If I saw somebody
Okay.
not doing something, I'd go say, you need to do that before they get over to you. It was like I was constantly trying to keep peace. And then on the other hand, I would be trying to be in charge. And then the other hand, I'd just be wanting to have fun. So it just depended on what the mood was, right?
Yeah, that's funny. I'm actually a Libra, so I do have some of that,
Ah,
quite a bit of that balance in me, wanting to have the balance and the peace. So it's not my birth order necessarily, but
yeah.
as far as like the balance and when I was born, it very much is. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm a Virgo. So
Oh, okay.
that'll tell you something there, right?
There you go. Watch right out, huh? I love it. That's
That's right.
awesome.
That's right. Well, so I'm really curious. I don't really know what you do. I know you want to empower people. Am I
Mm-hmm.
remembering that
Mm-hmm.
correctly? You
Mm-hmm.
want to empower people. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you empower people?
Well, one of the ways that I empower people is I help them release trauma super
Hmm.
fast. So I'm not
Okay.
I don't I don't believe that things have to take a long time. I like to get stuff done quickly and I like to make stuff happen. In fact, today I had a client and we released 62 years of trauma in an hour. It was just
Oh,
gone.
beautiful.
And where she normally would be crying and sobbing, she was giggling and laughing and it was just absolutely beautiful. So I help transform people's lives quickly so that they can be their best self and
Yeah.
and accomplish everything that they want to. So those dreams are not a dream, they become a reality.
Yeah. I love, oh, you're using my podcast terms there.
There we
Today's
go.
dream, tomorrow's reality.
See?
It
We knew it
is
was
a good
right.
fit, right?
It is. It is a good fit.
So, what techniques do you use to create that change?
So I do quite a few different techniques. I've studied in a lot. So I'm a licensed, nationally certified massage therapist. I have studied the emotion code and the body code. I know lots of energetic modalities, and I've really just combined them all. And I do my own healing, is what I call it, the healing technique.
Hmm.
And I'm able to get through it. It's interesting. I have a lot of clients who come to me because everything else has failed,
Yeah.
because they have no more hope. They come to me when, well, I've tried everything, might as well try you. And they leave better and they leave healed. And it's the coolest thing, because then they're able to go on and they send me messages. The song that used to come on and destroy me came on, and I heard it and I waited and nothing happened. I didn't get emotional. Nothing happened. Or I was able to accomplish this goal. I had somebody who had this massive funding goal that he needed because he was opening up a really big business. And he's like, yeah, it just made it all happen. It just happened really quick, and it was
Yeah.
easy. So it's really a lot of fun. I combine many things. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question
It
quite,
does. It
but
does.
okay.
I do the same thing. I have all different kinds of certifications for all kinds of things. And so
Yay.
it's what you learn as for those that are listening or watching, when you get these certifications, there's always parts of it that's like, oh man, that is so gold. That's going to work good
Hmm.
for me. And then other things you kind of put to the side and you might pull them out every now and then. But for the most part,
Exactly.
you take the golden pieces out that really resonate with you and you start making changes with that. And so it's beautiful. And I'm like you, but I'll be honest, I like doing changes quick. But for me, it's like I'll tell people, I know we can make a lot of changes in the first session. However, I think we need to schedule several sessions because we're like Shrek says, we're like onions. We've got layers. So we're gonna fix this one. And then the one that was underneath that is going to start rearing its head. And we want to be proactive. And so anybody, that does this kind of work, I feel like we know a lot of times the people that are coming in are expecting us to, wham bam, it's done, we never have to do anything again. But and I'm sure you're nodding your head, so I'm sure you can relate to that. It's like we can't um fix this one thing and now your life's perfect. It's that one's not going to bother you anymore, but what else is, because there's always something more. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's like deciding that you want to eat healthier, so you eat a salad, so you're done.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
it's not how it works. I love having really big, massive, dramatic changes, because I think that helps people to have the hope that, oh, this is doable and this is
Right.
possible. And you said you're a hypnotist, so I'm sure you get massive transformation with that, kind of getting into their subconscious, where things live that a lot of times people don't know. I'm not a hypnotist, but I do a lot of muscle testing. So I also get into the
Hmm.
subconscious in a little bit different way. But
Yeah.
absolutely, once we
I
clear
still do
something.
muscle testing too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, yeah. For not to interrupt you, but
Oh.
the thing is like when I'm working with someone, I can usually tell if I need to ask the subconscious what's going on. And then sometimes I ask for permission to just see if it's going to be open. And then if not, then we start doing some parts work to kind of
Mhm.
figure out what's holding just the subconscious onto whatever it is. So yeah, I do the muscle testing too.
That's so awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool what is ready to go and what isn't ready to go.
Hmm.
Some clients come in, and I'm sure you found this as well, that they want to work on something that was said to them when they were 12, because that really hurt their feelings. But it then opens up these massive things, and other people come in and they're like, I was abused, let's get this out. And it's like, oh my gosh. But it's so neat how everybody comes in just a little bit different and ready for whatever they're ready for. And it doesn't matter. Like, even though I said, it seems like not a big deal, but maybe when you were 12, whatever was said to you has really shaped the way that you've looked at things. And as we
Hmm.
release those things, you can move forward differently
Yeah,
in life.
yeah,
That's really cool. It's fun that you said you're a hypnotist. Is it okay if I share a really quick story?
yeah, yeah.
So,
This is your show.
well, it's your show. So I was at a I don't know if it was in college. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I went to a hypnotist show, I guess is
Mm-hmm.
what it would have been called then. It was a big auditorium, and the guy got up there and he said whatever he said, I'm going to do, I don't exactly understand what he did, but he said, I'm going to say some things. And if you feel yourself getting kind of drowsy, just let it happen. And I was like, this is crazy. This is weird, but I went. And I was sitting there, and as he was talking, I felt my body and my eyes like just get like so heavy. And I noticed and I was like, whoa, I was really floored that it was real. I feel bad saying that now because of everything I do, that a lot of people are like, that doesn't even seem real. But it was really fascinating to feel it in my body. And then I worked really hard to stay awake because I wanted to observe. I wanted to see what was happening and what he was doing, but I kept feeling myself almost desiring to go there. It was very fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We should work together. Um,
We should.
well, because the funny thing happened to me. Now, this is before I became a hypnotist. I was on a cruise ship and they had, of course, one of the stage hypnotists there,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so he asked the audience, anybody that wanted to come up and be part of the show. Well, so one of the things you may not know about me, you probably don't because you don't really know me, is that I am an extrovert introvert. So there's
Okay.
times I want to be in the back and nobody even notice me. And other times I'm just, pick me, pick me, pick me kind of thing,
Right. Yeah.
watch me, see me. So it changes, right?
Hmm.
And so a lot of times I'm looking for a way to be that extrovert without any nervousness about it or something. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know. So
Yeah.
anyway, at this thing, I thought, oh, I want to try this. So, and I had had hypnosis for weight loss years and years before that. But I go up on the stage and the stage is completely filled with people that want to be part of it, right? And so the way he did, kind of like, you're the hypnotist that you talked to, had you still sitting there, but
Yeah.
started saying things to see who would go, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so what this guy did was anybody that wanted to be part of it, he brought him on the stage, and then he took us through this process of kind of getting us under to see who would go under really, really well. Well, I do really, really well. And so the funny thing is he asked us to, we were supposed to be envisioning us playing our favorite musical instrument. I don't play any instruments, but I did, play with the piano when I was a kid. So I
Okay.
decided I was doing piano. Well, I don't know if they were actually playing music or not, but I heard music in my ear. And you've heard the pianos where it's like they're don don don,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, that's what I was playing, and I was doing it, man. I was hitting those piano keys, and I got so deep under that at the end there were only five of us left because he eliminated people that weren't going under the way he wanted.
Hmm.
And he kept bringing me in front of the five people because I go under really good. And I wanted to express myself and act out, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And the next day on the cruise ship, people were stopping me. I saw you in the show last night. That was so fun. And I loved it. I loved it. Right. So
Yeah.
it was great. And so it was years and years before I ever got into hypnosis, though. And I did it because I had become a health coach and a life coach and a transformational coach because I had a terrible weight problem constantly
Okay.
my whole life. And I did great with it. And then I started seeing that I was kind of sliding back a little bit. I could recognize those behaviors in myself. And that's
Hmm.
when I decided to get into hypnosis because I just felt like I needed one more thing to maybe make it solid, right? And
Right.
man, am I glad I added the hypnosis on it. And so I have 5 certifications in hypnosis because, one's not good enough.
Right.
And it's just like the other stuff. I pull pieces of each one of them out and put it in my little toolbox, you know. So oh, that's enough about me. Um
No, I love hearing it. This is
yeah,
so neat.
yeah, but I love your hypnosis story. Did he ask you to do anything that you remember?
No,
Um,
because I didn't go under. I didn't allow myself to go
okay,
under.
okay,
He did have some people go up on the stage. I don't know if he like woke them up. It's been a long time. So
yeah,
I don't remember if if he may have invited people up on the stage who wanted to do it and then said, and if you feel it while I'm talking, I'll have you come up as well.
Yeah.
And that was when, I think my friend was like, this is such a joke. And she didn't feel anything. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I
Yeah.
feel this so much. I was like, oh yeah, it's a total joke. I
I know.
was like,
I
oh
know.
no.
Well, you know what's funny is I was on a date and I went to a comedy show. Well,
Hmm.
lo and behold, what is it? A hypnotist comedy thing,
Oh
right?
no.
Now I know I go under and I didn't want to
Mhm.
embarrass myself. So the whole time he's talking, trying to get people to see who would go under, um,
Yeah.
I would I would do the alphabet in my
Oh,
head.
okay.
Anything to keep my mind off what he was saying, because I
Yeah.
could feel as soon as I stopped doing that, his
Yeah.
voice just would lull me in, and it was like, and I really have to, when I'm around a hypnotist, if they start saying certain things, I just have to, disconnect and not
Yeah.
listen, because I know I go under so quick.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't heard that story often, so
yeah.
that's fascinating that I guess, and maybe
Mhm.
you're a better hypnotist because you do go under, you know how it feels.
Maybe, I don't know. And the thing is that just so people don't get confused with hypnosis, they can't make you do anything you don't want to do. But see,
Right.
the thing that, since I am a closet extrovert, basically, I'm getting more of an extrovert. But used to, I was definitely a closet extrovert. So I was always looking for this opportunity to just say anything, do anything. And it would be, I could say, well, I was under hypnosis if anybody had an opinion about it.
Gotcha.
You
So
know,
it's kind
already
of
took.
safe almost.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that's kind of, when I started my podcast, it was because I wanted to be able to speak and not have to say, well, it was because I was under hypnosis or any of those things, right? I
Yeah.
just could
Yeah.
speak. And so it's really interesting, when you look at all of this stuff, that most of the time I really would spend so making such a great effort to be somebody I wasn't for a very, very long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I think a lot of people do that, trying to fit in, and it often seems to boil down to, if I don't fit in, if people don't like me, then I'm not loved and then I'll be alone. It seems like most things kind of
Yeah,
go right back into that. So we have to act a certain way or do certain things or appear a certain way, wear the right amount of makeup or clothing or look a
yeah,
certain way so that we're ultimately loved.
yeah. And we get most of that from when we were kids, you
Yeah.
know. Now I know your parents were great, and my parents were great too, but there were certain things that I knew if I did these certain things that I would get more accolades from them,
Yeah.
if I acted a certain way or I spoke a certain way, that's my girl kind of thing, And
Yeah.
so over time you start thinking, that this is where the love is when I do these. Like I had someone I talked to just the other day. She was actually on my podcast, and she said that when she was young, that the only way she felt like she got love was if she was the good girl.
Okay.
So she had to be very good, and she had to make sure that everybody else was okay. And it took
Hmm.
her many, many years to get outside of that space of, I have to be the good girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. That happens, I think, with a lot of people, especially growing up. They want to get the love. Often it's love of mom or dad. It seems to be one that's like really, really pulling. And I know that my dad's an entrepreneur, and I just
Hmm.
thought that was the coolest thing that he did that. So I've always kind of followed that path. And actually my mom was too. She made retainers, like the olden, they had the wire and
Yeah. Yeah.
the whatever.
For the
She
braces.
made him, yeah, she made him like in our basement at home. So
Oh, how cool
they
is
both had
that?
a very entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah. So
Yeah.
my dad liked to say that he made stuff and sold it to people. I thought that's great. That's like the best explanation ever. People would kind of be like, "Oh," and they didn't know where
Okay.
to go from there. So it was wonderful.
There's really not much you can say unless it's,
Okay,
what are
well,
those things that you
yeah,
make for people,
yeah,
right?
right,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we have so much in common because my parents were entrepreneurs too.
Oh, cool.
And my mom's family was entrepreneurs because, well, her brothers and sisters, they were hairstylists. And so I grew up to be a hairstylist too, and as an
Oh, cool.
entrepreneur. And then I added all my other stuff later. But being an entrepreneur is definitely a different mindset than, working for the man, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a very different life. And it's funny. I'll just share really quick. I dated a guy one time that was a school teacher. Now
Mm-hmm.
he had all these extra degrees and everything, so he made really good money. I mean, he was at the top of the scale of what you could do with a foreign language and everything. And we had a very big disconnect with us because I was an entrepreneur. So I was always aspiring for this, learn this new thing, do this new thing so that I can make more money and I can share
Right.
and right? The
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurial thing. But he thought that I was selfish because I wanted more. And he thought that I needed too many things, and he had this big opinion of it. And he couldn't understand why I was constantly setting these goals for this next milestone and everything. And I said, but you don't have any milestones to reach. So
Wow.
it's a different thing because you've reached the pivotal place that you can go. So why would you dream? You can't do anything more. And so we ended up not staying together, to be honest with you. But when you think about it, it is a very different concept for people to even understand if they've never been an entrepreneur or not around entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that because my husband and I have actually been talking about that recently. He likes to say, I don't have a single entrepreneurial bone in my body. Is like I am the farthest from an entrepreneur. And because for the longest time, we've been married almost 24 years, and for the longest time I was like, well, with these skills you have, you can do this business and this business. He's like, I don't want to. And it was so hard for me to understand. I'm like, why not? Why do you want to go to work for someone? Like the second I got out of massage school, I worked for a chiropractor for a hot second and then I was on my own because I was like, no,
I
everybody's got
love
all
that.
these
A hot
rules.
second.
Serious, they're like, well, it's called a therapeutic hour, which means you have 50 minutes. They have 5 minutes to take off their clothes, 50 minutes for massage, and 5 minutes to be done. You take them out, you bring in your next client. Like it's just, that's how you do it. It's the way it
Yeah,
works, how it is. And so often I would bring a client in there and they needed more than 50, they needed 50 minutes here, like on their
right.
shoulder and neck. And I was like, well, how am I supposed to help these people if I have to, follow these rules and do exactly what you say? And so then I'd kind of, I do like 57 minutes and then, you take it too long. And I was like, ah. And so it was frustrating. But yeah, my husband just said, he's like, I just am so far from being an entrepreneur. But it was interesting because just today, he and I were having this conversation. I'm like, you're good at a job for like 2 years. And then because he climbs quick
Mm-hmm.
because he is goal driven,
Mm-hmm.
not in a I'm going to start my own business, but
Right.
in a here I am, let me move up, 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 up. And then he gets there and then he's like, there's nowhere else to go. So he also has goals that they just look a little bit different than me
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur. But it was kind of fun discovering that because I
Yeah. So he
sometimes
sounds a
when
lot
you
like an entrepreneur. He just does it in a different way.
yeah, he just does it like he loves coming. His favorite thing, which is not my favorite thing, is to go in and fix systems and processes. Like that
Mm.
is, oh, it just makes him so happy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, take everything. I mean, I'll type it up on a Word doc and copy and paste it and put it in, like I'm the worst with that. But he loves it. He likes making things streamlined. So he likes something that's established that he can go in and kind of perfect. So
Hmm.
it's great for me. I just say,
Yeah.
here, this
I
is
was
what
going
I'm
to
doing.
say, maybe
Yeah.
I'll
And he
come
goes,
stay at your house for a little bit.
right. I know. He just goes, he's like, show me what you do. And I'm showing him and he's like, oh, please no. And I'm like, well, I don't know. It's working for me. He's like, no, this is what you're going to do. It's going to be way faster. And of course I resist as, as a good wife,
That's right.
but eventually I'm like, fine, and I try it and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a
So
lot of fun.
how many children did you say you have?
We have 6.
Six. So how old are they? I know you said the oldest one was 16 when you adopted him, right?
When we adopted him, yeah, back in 2016. So he just turned 24.
Oh, wow,
So we have a
nice.
24-year-old, yeah, and he's Haitian, and he's going to school actually in Idaho to be hold on, like a flight medic. So like for
Okay.
air life,
Uh-huh.
that's what he wants to do. And then we just then our biological oldest lives in New York, and he is 22, 23. What year is it? He's 23. He actually sings for the Buffalo Philharmonic. He's an incredible musician.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, he picks up a woodwind and he's just good at it. And his voice it just melts you. For the longest time, I thought it was just me saying he was good. And then I would occasionally let people listen. They're like, whoa, he's actually good. Instead of the, oh yeah, mommy's really good. And then we have a daughter who just turned, so she's 21. We just found out we're going to be grandparents. So she's having a little baby boy.
Oh,
And her and her
congratulations.
husband, thank you. Her and her husband live in Idaho. And then I have a 19-year-old who's getting ready to serve a mission for our church. And so she's getting kind of all the medical stuff going with that. And then we have a 16-year-old who plays softball, and she's as feisty as they come. And then we have our 13-year-old baby who plays baseball and super sporty. So there
Wow.
they are.
Well, that'd be fun at your house for holidays.
Oh, it is. It's a
Yeah.
blast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Sounds
have a lot
like
of
it.
fun, a lot of inside jokes. We're goofy, and we like to have a lot of fun, and we're very sarcastic. So all my kids say when they go out in the real world, I'm like, Mom, I have to tone it down. Nobody can handle my sarcasm. That's what my poor college student said. She's home for the summer, the one who's getting ready to leave for a mission. And she's like, Mom, I'll say something and she's like, "Oh, I can be sarcastic. You guys can understand it. I don't have to tune it down anymore." I'm like, oh, poor baby.
I know, I know. Well, people sometimes take that sarcasm to heart, don't they?
They do, they do,
Yeah,
they do.
yeah,
We do a lot of joking, sort of movie quote sarcasm is kind of how we do it. But
yeah,
yeah, sarcasm, I mean, it literally means to cut. Like it's not, it can be very cruel.
yeah,
It
it
really
can.
can. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can say that there are times that sarcasm is funny to me, and then sometimes I think it's depend on who's delivering the sarcasm,
Yeah. Yeah,
because
probably.
sometimes it's like it'll piss me off, It's
Oh,
like, what
yeah.
the hell?
Yeah.
So it's interesting when you think about it because the words are the same,
Yeah.
but it sometimes is funny and sometimes cuts like a knife. So it's all in the
Absolutely.
delivery. Yeah.
Oh, it totally is. A lot of times people deliver not nice things in the form of, well, it was just a joke,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
feel those words. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
And words are so powerful. I talk about this a lot, that, the power that of the words that we say about ourselves and to ourselves are so
Absolutely.
powerful. One of my
Absolutely.
favorite books is The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. Are you
Okay.
familiar with that book?
I'm not. Mm-mm.
Hmm. Well, you should take a listen.
Okay.
I love it on an audiobook. That's why I say take a listen. But it's
The surrender experiment. I'm just going to put
yeah,
that in my phone right now so I remember.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's very powerful about mindset and about the voice in our head and the things that we say, and it's really good. So you'll have to tell me after
Awesome.
you get it what you think. But I like the audiobook because something about this guy's voice is just like it's soothing. And so the
Mm.
message just really lands really nicely. And
Oh, that's wonderful.
I don't know how you are, but I like listening to YouTube or podcast or books when I'm doing other things, like when I'm getting ready in the morning. It's the perfect time to have something in my ear, right? Or when you're in
Yeah.
the car and that kind of thing. I think Zig Ziglar used to call it your your university, your mobile university or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
so that
Yeah.
you were actually getting education while you were doing other things. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It's kind of one way to compress time, isn't it? When you can
Yeah,
do something something mindless
Yeah.
while also learning. Yeah, it's really cool. I love that too. I love to go for walks
Oh,
in the
yeah.
morning. That's my time, getting outside and going for walks. And I like to always be listening and learning to something. So yeah, I'm excited to check that out.
Yeah.
That'll be
Yeah.
awesome. You
Yeah.
actually
So
made me think of the book, The Atlas of the Heart by
I'm
Brene
not,
Brown. I don't know if you've ever
I,
heard of
I've,
that one. No?
I'm familiar with Brene Brown, but I have not read
Okay.
that one. What's it
Yeah,
called?
it's really cool. The Atlas of the Heart.
Atlas of the Heart.
Yeah, look at us both giving each other homework.
I know. And all of
It's
those that
it's
are
really
listening,
fascinating.
go ahead, get these books.
Yeah, I mean, phenomenal, phenomenal. Really makes you look at everything. It's funny. You talked about the power of words, and one of the things I noticed recently, I was tired a lot, and I found myself saying out loud as well as in my head, I am so tired. And one of the days I was like, wait, but am I? Like, why am I saying it that way? Like I'm a little bit sleepy because it's the end of the day. Like, why am I just like, oh, I'm so I was like being so dramatic. And I was like, well, of course I'm so tired. If I keep saying I'm so tired. And so I was like, I'm gonna knock that off.
Yeah,
And so if
yeah,
I feel sleepy, then I say, well, I feel sleepy. That's so much different than like giving myself this
yeah.
characteristic.
Yeah,
I
especially if you use the
am
word exhausted.
right.
Yeah.
And I am, it's putting this
Yeah.
characteristic as opposed to I feel this way. Well, a feeling can change. I feel thirsty. I feel cold,
Hmm.
versus I am. So it's interesting playing with words and how just changing it up a little bit can change how you feel on the inside, how you act on the outside, how others feel you. It's
Right.
really neat.
Yeah, all the energy around words and around your physical being when you're using words, it's phenomenal. And as we're talking about this, I have a group on Facebook that I pour into every day. I do affirmations and journal prompts every day in this group.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things is I love creating the I am statements. And I'm always telling them, anything that comes after the words I am are super powerful. So make sure you're using it correctly. And so for me, one of the things is as I was learning this, none of us are perfect. So there'll be times that I'll pop into that I'm so tired kind of thing, right? And then I'll catch myself really quick and say, I can say this differently, and I'm feeling tired, or I've had a great day because I've been busy. I just change it up a little bit. And I think a lot of times when we're talking about these things, people start thinking that because we've said these, that we're um it's almost like we have this ability that other people don't, and
Oh, yeah.
to do this, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, it's really important for people to understand that nobody's born with that ability. It's you learn and you grow.
Mhm.
And the thing is I used to go say something and go down the rabbit hole deep, 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 right? So
Mhm.
now I can catch myself as just as I start putting a toe in there, and I can say, wait a minute, and so it changes things so much. And, to me, it's like, feels like such a gift to be able to catch yourself
Yeah.
quickly so that you can almost like you're like bringing those words back in. Let me
Right.
say it
Yeah.
different. Let me say a more powerful way of saying this so that I can be who I want to be and not fall prey to those old emotions and taking them ownership of them.
Absolutely. I love that you said that. I'm gonna grab a magnet really quick.
Okay.
I'm a big fan also of I am statements, and I don't know if it
Uh-huh.
comes across like
Yeah.
backwards or not. I never know.
It's
It
right.
it
It's
is to
right.
me. But it's I am enough. And so like with what I do, that was another thing I kept telling people. I'm like, we got to repeat these things in our brain that are good. And so I have like one of my friends was like, I want it massive. So I have like these big, huge magnets. She's like, I just want it staring at my face. So when those words start coming in my head of we know all the words that go in our heads. We won't even
Mhm.
say them out loud. We're not going to give them any power. But to repeat the words, I am enough, or I am. I love that you do that every single day so that people can have something beautiful in their mind to focus on. And whether they believe it or not, the more you say it, the more you kind of brainwash yourself into believing
Yeah. Yeah.
that maybe it's true. And then eventually, well, I guess I can believe that about myself. So, wow,
Yeah.
you're changing the world by doing that a little bit at a
Oh, well,
time. That's
thank
so
you.
cool. Yeah,
And
thank you.
the thing that I explain to them is like our, and I'm sure you know this, that our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between fact and fiction. Whatever we
Correct.
tell it, that's why that I am so tired was
Right.
so powerful, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
suddenly your subconscious is thinking, am I really that tired? Oh my
I
gosh,
guess
let
I
me
am.
look for evidence of it. I'm beginning to have
Yes.
a headache. I'm beginning this, I'm beginning, and it starts looking for evidence. So even when we say these powerful affirmations, even if we don't believe them in the moment, just the fact that we're saying them and we give it some emotion, you don't do much with the deadpan thing.
No.
Um, but when you can give it some emotion, your subconscious mind starts paying attention. It sits up straighter and it says, wait a minute, you just said what? Oh, let me
Yeah.
see. It must be true. Let me
Yeah.
see, find evidence of it. And then that's when the people around you start representing that new evidence, right?
Absolutely. That's so cool. I love that you pointed that out. And our mind also doesn't understand the difference between sort of a yes and a no. For example, don't think of an elephant. Well, you
Yeah.
weren't. You were not. Who was thinking of
Yeah.
an elephant ever? Unless you're at a zoo, you're really not thinking of an elephant. But now you are, and maybe it's pink, but if it wasn't, it is now. And so the more we think about I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, our brain doesn't really tell the difference between I want to and I don't want to. So that's another really important thing. I read a book where this lady had repeated over and over and over. I think it was in I think the Emotion Code was the book I was reading, and over and over she said, I don't want to end up in a wheelchair. I don't want to end up in a wheelchair. I don't want to end up in a wheelchair. And guess what? That's where she ended up because all her brain saw was this wheelchair. That was the
Hmm.
focus. I
Yeah.
know I've heard another story about when you're learning how to ride a motorcycle, you look at where you want to go, not at where you don't want to go, because wherever you stare at, that's where you're going to end up. So don't look
Hmm.
at where you don't want to crash. Look at where you want to go.
Right.
Look
Right.
at that angle. And that's why goals are so important. Even if it's just a step further than you think you can go, so you're focusing there instead of falling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you haven't been in Stacy's world for long, have you?
No.
Okay, because she's got this really cool diagram that she shares, and it is your comfort circles.
Mm.
And so you'll
Oh
have to
yeah.
ask her about it if
I
you
saw
haven't
that on
seen.
Saturday.
Okay,
So
okay. Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And so one of the cool things about it is, a lot of times we think that where we are is not good enough because we see this circle that's so far away from us, and that's where we're supposed to be. And I love these comfort circles because it helps you to realize that you only need to take a little step forward. If you don't want to be on camera talking to people, do it as an audio,
Right. Yeah.
just do what you can. And it's like there's so much times that we stop things because we feel like there's no way we'll ever reach this pivotal place that somebody else is. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I learned when I was going through my health and life coaching school is that, small hinges swing big doors is the way they put it all the time. So you
Oh,
only
cool.
have to have 1% change every day to create exponential growth. And so that's one of the things that I talk about a lot too, is that we don't have to be reaching these huge milestones right away. We start where we are and we just make these gradual things. So I like to say, the only constant in life is change, right? And so we're
Mhm.
either changing for the better, for where we want to go, or we're sliding backwards into something that we've thought before or whatever. So it's like we're in an ocean and we're just kind of tossed with the wind, right? Or we
Yeah.
can take charge and we can be strategic in how we want to be. And it is just, um, it's an amazing thing to be thinking that with that stuff that we become the people that are in control
Mhm.
of all of this stuff that's going on around us. And if we don't like what we see, it's time to do some inner work and say, okay, how can I be the person that is that? Right? And so I'm all the time talking about when we make, like today, we're having this conversation. So anybody that's listening, any change that they decide to make today,
Mhm.
tomorrow, that's their new normal because it's a little incremental
Yeah,
change. So then it's
right.
their new normal. And then you do it again, and that's your new normal. And so that's why I do the affirmations and the journal prompts, because I want them logging things down and writing down their thoughts so that
Mhm.
when they have made all of these little incremental changes that create this exponential growth, that in 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, they can look back and say, oh crap, look how much I've grown.
Yeah,
Because without that to look at, you just think you've always been that way.
exactly. Exactly. It's fascinating. While you were saying that, I was thinking, the thought came to my mind that when I work with people, and I wonder if you do this too, or something similar. I think we do things the same and different. You know, we each have
Yeah,
our own
yeah,
voice and our own sort of style, but it's so fun helping people and empowering them and seeing them change and do things that
yeah,
they couldn't before, right? And one of the things that I've noticed, well, one of my favorite things to share is like about pancakes. Like you can't make pancakes without the first pancake. And the
right.
first pancake's bad. Everybody knows that the first pancake is just going to be bad. So when we try something new, it's probably not going to be awesome. But we know that. We know we have to have the first pancake and get rid of it so we can have all the beautiful pancakes. And that's how it is with everything. And also that the person we are right now is because of somebody who was scared. Me, when I was scared, did whatever it was, as Stacy says, did the thing, right?
Mhm.
All these do it now, did the thing. You know, your dream, like you say, is now the reality because the scared you, the one who couldn't do it, did.
Right.
And so now you are where you didn't think you could be. And it's so neat to watch that journey. I love that you have people write down journal entries so they can look back yesterday even or a week
Mhm.
or a month or a year and say,
Yeah,
"Oh my gosh, I had no idea I'd changed that much. I had no idea." We
yeah.
play that game in my family all the time. Just 4 years ago during COVID, my husband got very, very sick. He was one of the first people to get sick in Rockland County. It was a mail carrier, and he got so sick. I drove him to the hospital and I dropped him off. They came out in hazmat suits. My husband was
Isn't that
so out of
scary as
breath.
shit?
Oh my gosh. He
Oh,
he did not have enough my husband is a very in shape. He was 40, I don't know, 4 years ago. So he's 46 years old, 47, 46, 47, healthy male. He did not have enough breath to say his name.
oh my gosh.
So we pull up and he looks good. Like he looks healthy, but he tries to speak and he can't speak. And so they took him in, which I was grateful for on the one hand. And I said, "Well, what do I do?" And they said, "You leave." And it was 4 years ago. That was the longest drive home. I called my friend who was a doctor and I said, "Jen, what do I do?" She says, "You plan for him dying." And I was like, "You are the wrong pep talk." It was terrible.
Oh
And I
gosh.
sobbed the whole way home and I had to pull myself together because we had my husband's parents living with us at the time. We had 5 children at home, one on a mission, and I had to pull it together. So
Yeah.
in just really 4 short years, we went from 10 at home, my husband may be dying, to here we are in Florida. We have children thriving. My husband's alive. And sometimes we don't realize how far we've come
Hmm.
unless we take a minute and turn around and look. And that is what has shaped us for today. And
Yeah.
it's sometimes difficult to look at that and realize it was really hard. His phone died. I had no contact with him. It was
Yeah.
it was not my favorite time, but man, it teaches you how strong you are and you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is all of those, I talk about our mosaic life in the
Mm.
podcast because it's all of those things that have happened over and over again. Not the same thing, but all the
Right.
challenges, all the things have brought us to this beautiful place where we are right now. And so without any one of those, everything would be different. Now, how different, would it be better? I don't know. But the
Yeah.
thing is you wouldn't have gotten the lesson that brings you this place of who you are. And so there's a hell of a lot of things that in my past I used to say, oh, I wish that hadn't happened. I wish that
Mhm.
hadn't happened. I wish I'd acted different. I wish I'd reacted different. I used to say all that. But now I look back on things and I say, oh, that was perfect because I learned this. I grew from this. Now I understand this. I have empathy for this. All of these different things. So I think if we can, and you were just alluding to it, if you can go back and look at something that happened in your life and say, okay, what was the gift that it
Yeah.
gave me? And when you can look at it and you can figure it out, and sometimes the gift is just that you are resilient,
Yeah,
you get through
absolutely.
things, you have courage, you have the ability to withstand things.
Mhm.
And so but there's always something there if we look for it. And I think that's where a lot of times people have a hard time because they stay in the victim place of
Yeah.
whatever happened. And so they never get the lesson. So they're destined to keep repeating, not that exact same thing, but whatever it was they were supposed to have learned from that lesson.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up that whole mosaic thing again because I had never heard life explained that way, and it is so powerful to me because the only way you get a mosaic is by busting something up.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no other way, and it becomes this new thing. And I think that our journey in life is to become something completely different. We're all not giant babies.
Yeah.
We're not, we've changed. When you plant a seed, you don't expect a massive seed to happen. You expect to
Right.
put in something in the ground, something entirely different to come out, a
Yeah.
flower, a tree, and then also to bear more fruit.
Right.
And I love, like, I can just see in my mind this mosaic, and it's just incredibly powerful because each of our lives, I'm sure everybody listening or watching or wherever you are can name at least one time in your life you felt like you were busted up,
Yeah.
whether physically or emotionally or mentally. And where you are now is because of how you survived that busting up.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you're that much more beautiful. What
Yeah.
a cool analogy. Thank you for sharing
Oh,
that.
my pleasure. And one of the other things is the Japanese art of kitsumi. Are you
Hmm.
familiar with that?
I've heard of it, but I
Okay.
don't remember right
Well,
now.
what it is they would take like vases or plates or cups that were broken and they would
Hmm.
piece them back together and they would put gold in the cracks, which made the porcelain or whatever it was, it made it stronger and beautiful. And so it's like looking at that, it's like all of our cracks, we're learning and we're growing. So we're putting our gold in there and we're getting stronger and more beautiful just from having gone through that. And if you've never looked at any of the Kitsumi art, the I mean, it is gorgeous. And they even, not only do they make it look more beautiful with these gold pieces and everything, they actually set it on display and shine a light on it. So it's like they want you to see how beautiful these cracks became. So I kind of feel like that's the gift we can give ourselves. If we can look at the cracks in us and all the things that we've done that we wish we hadn't done or whatever, and we can imagine that we're putting our gold in there and sealing those cracks up. And then we're shining a light on them saying, look how beautiful that turned out. Right.
Wow. That is really, really powerful. And isn't that how the hero's journey isn't that of
Yeah.
something mundane, where
Yeah.
like everything was easy and oh, my life was so easy and nothing ever. I mean, like we wouldn't even watch that movie, would
That's
we?
right.
We'd be like, oh,
We
this
turn
is
it
so
off after a
boring.
couple minutes.
Shut it
What
up.
the
I know.
heck?
We want to watch. We will, and I think we enjoy maybe is the right word, but we enjoy feeling it so much because we can relate. Like, oh, I've been there. I've lost a job. I've lost a child. I've had this heartache. Oh my gosh, you got through it. I can get through it, and
Yeah.
it's almost this
And
this
it gives us
power.
hope because if
Yes,
somebody
it
else
does.
can withstand that thing that we're going through, then it's like, okay, you look around a little bit. Well, now if they can create this beautiful work out of what I just went through. Holy smokes, I can do that, you know? And so and that's why I love telling people stories on the podcast because I
Hmm.
didn't start that way. My podcast started with I was just going to talk. And so my first few couple episodes was just me talking about
Yeah.
our dreams and our reality and all that stuff. And then I was on Facebook one day and I was in one of my groups, and somebody shared a story about something in this guy's life. He was sharing his life, and he was a diabetic amputee.
Okay.
And he was talking about how he was doing things now in his life. And I thought, oh, that's somebody I want to talk to. So I messaged him and said, hey, would you like to come on my podcast? So he was my first real guest. It
Oh,
doesn't
neat.
show that way on my feed now because something snafu'd, but anyway, that's irrelevant. But anyway, he told the story about being a diabetic and losing his foot, and then he lost part of his leg, and then he lost some more of his leg. And then he made this statement that just changed my life. He said, it's losing that limb was the best thing that ever happened to me because it changed my life for the better.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my gosh, if somebody can lose a limb and look at it as the best thing that ever happened to them,
Yeah.
wow, you know?
That's
And
incredible.
so then it was like I was on a mission then. If I saw anybody was sharing something that seemed like, oh my gosh, I got to know, I would ask them to be on my podcast. So in the beginning, the only people that came on my podcast were the ones that I looked for and I found. And then after a while, it got where people were searching me out. But
Yeah.
it's like I just got so enthralled with people's stories and seeing how they came out on the other side, just magnificent.
Oh, it
It's like,
is.
how do you survive that and feel this way after? I want that kind of feel, right? I don't want the accident.
Yeah.
I don't want
Right.
the terrible thing that happened, but I want to feel that thing in my gut, right? And so I think we all would like to feel like where we are right now, this is the best place in the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that. It's really, it's neat. Almost every story you share makes me think of a story of my own. And then when I share a story, you think of a story.
I
And
know.
aren't our lives just lots of stories
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of woven together that create this, what do you call it, a kitsumi,
Kitsumi. Yeah.
or a mosaic or a
The mosaic. Yeah.
tapestry or,
Yeah.
all of these things. And it just wouldn't be as beautiful
Right.
without the triumph and the tragedy. I'm actually giggling at myself because whenever I would have a baby, I always thought, and this is so mean, but I always thought, who's the wimpiest person I know who had a baby? And if that person can have a baby, then I can have a baby. I can do it. So I channeled that energy, maybe not exactly the way that I should, but it gave me hope, like you said, if you can overcome it, then I can overcome it. And so
Yeah.
that's what I was like, women everywhere have been having babies under worse circumstances than I'm having a baby. And if they can do it, then I can do it. I've got the power to do it. In fact, I took a is it a birthing
Mm-hmm.
hypnotherapy thing where I did in
Mm-hmm.
my ears, and during that birth, I was told I wasn't in labor. It was baby number 3, and I was far too calm. And I said, "Well, I am in labor." And so she came and she said, "Well, I think it was like at a 3." And she said, "If you don't progress, you're going home." And I had heard a story, and I was able to really, really focus. And I think it was because of that hypno
Mm-hmm.
birthing tapes and stuff. I'd been listening tapes. That's what it was. I think it was tapes or CDs. It was a while ago. And but I just was able to imagine what everything needed to look like in order for a baby to pass through. And in less than an hour, I went from a 3 to complete because of envisioning
Yeah.
and creating that change first in my mind because of a story. Then it came to my mind, and then I was able to manifest it in my body. And it's so incredible the things that we're able to make happen if we just put our focus in the correct place.
Yeah, yeah. And then one of the things that I think it's important to interject here is that most of the time, and not to be crude or anything, we can't see our own shit. You know,
Right.
whatever we're going through, we can't see
Yeah.
it. And that's
Yeah.
why it's a beautiful thing to have, whether it's me or whether it's you or someone else, a coach that can look at our lives and you say, well, this is the thing that keeps happening to me. And they can say, oh, I can see what's going on here. Let's do this and this. And how about what do you want to do here and what do you want to do there? And we can help
Hmm.
guide someone. So I feel like it's almost like, we're in a park and we've lost the ball. It's somewhere in the
Hmm.
park and there's a drone up above and it's going around. It says, okay, take a left, take a left, take a right, take a right. Oh, there it is. And you
Yeah.
find that. But if you had been left on your own, you'd be in there for days looking for this
Yeah.
ball in the park.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I feel like a lot of people want to do things on their own, and God bless them.
Yeah.
But I will be honest, I had a client once that when I talked to her the first time, she said, oh, and she was wanting to have to do weight loss, right? And she said, I don't know if I can afford to do this right now. I don't know if I've got the time. So I think I'll do this on my own. I said, okay. Do you know she came to me 3 years later, needing to lose more than she did the first time? And then we worked together. And now she didn't lose weight right away, not physical weight, but the weight that
Hmm.
she lifted from her life was amazing, right? Her life was drastically different. And today she's still losing weight, doing all the things that she wants to do, and she's doing it, right? It's not me
Right.
doing it. And the thing that broke my heart, but it was like, if you'd started 3 years earlier when we first talked, where would you be now? But then I remind myself, everybody's journey's different. Maybe
Yeah.
she had to have those 3 years of struggle on
Hmm.
her own to appreciate the what we created. I don't know. But, it's the kind of that old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will come kind of
Yeah.
thing. But I just wanted to make sure that I explain to people that when you've got something going on, somebody else can look at it and they can give you guidance and help you. Whereas you might struggle for years trying to get to the root of something so that you can change your life.
Yeah. Sometimes we're just far too close to it. So we need
Mm-hmm.
that coach to say, all you got to do is just adjust like this
Yeah.
and it'll be amazing. And we said, well, I've been trying, and a lot of times along with weight loss, people say, well, I'll just read a book or I'll just study this. And sometimes that works,
Mm-hmm.
but more often than not, you lose the motivation or the book stays where it was before.
Yeah.
It's not read. And, I mean, my gosh, if all it took was information to change things, we would all be healthy and wealthy and wise, wouldn't we? We'd all be
Yep.
just
That's right.
living our best
We would
life and we're
have no
not.
needs whatsoever.
Yeah, and all those books on your bookshelf that I see and all mine over there that you
And
don't
there's a
see.
bookshelf over here that you can't see. And especially because it's really sloppy because it's got books piled on top of books. That one over there looks pretty good.
But if it was information alone that changed us, we would all be far different. You very often need some sort of a coach to help you get to that next level, to help you get unstuck, whatever that stuck level is. And I think sometimes we think we have to be beginners in order to need help. And often it isn't. Sometimes, you're a CEO or you're a whatever where you feel like you should be happy because you've reached the success, but there's still a plateau. And so whenever there's a coach, there's always more room to level up and just to even be that much happier. So yeah, you can't see it or smell it or find it sometimes unless somebody's there to say, do you realize what's on your shoe? I was
Yeah.
wondering where that smell came from. Well, I see it. It's on your shoe. If
Yeah.
we take off the shoe and put a new shoe, everything's going to be fine,
Yeah. 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 That's definitely a sweeter way of explaining it.
Well, but it's the same thing. It's the
Yeah, it
same.
is.
And
It is.
yeah.
There's
Oh,
times when I
geez.
say that I think some people are probably I'm cringing, but hey, that's just what I say. So that's
Well,
okay.
and it's good because it's a real thing. I mean, it's not like something we're not familiar with.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think we speak in these analogies that can be so far-fetched, it's hard to really understand. But I mean, that should be a daily or every few day occurrence.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. And if it isn't, then,
You need
maybe
more
find somebody
than
other than a coach. Like,
hypnosis.
get way in there right now. Get some help. That's not okay. You wonder why you're bloated? I'll tell you. Sorry. Should have warned you. Don't take a
I
drink.
know. I almost spit that out my nose, you know?
I know. I know. Jeez.
Well,
Ugh.
uh, this has been so fun. I have so enjoyed talking, I think there are certain times that you meet people and there's just this energetic flow that just feels so good, right? And I feel that from you. And I do have a few people that I've had that instant kind of connection with, and so I can see that we will be friends. And
Absolutely.
I think we will be collaborative in our adventures and our groups and all these things because I can see where we're complementary to one another, and
Absolutely.
and one of the things that I love about being part of that collaborative group and being there with you and everything is that it doesn't matter what your expertise is and whether there's somebody else that does exactly what you do. We all have a different voice. We all have a different way that we're doing things. So we're going to attract different people. So nobody in there is ever, I'm not going to talk to them because they'll
Mm.
take my clients. They'll do this. It is such an amazing group of people that just connect and we all help each other. Like it's amazing. And I
Yeah.
wish, everybody, no matter what business they're in, whether they work for somebody or they're an entrepreneur, I wish that for everybody. Wouldn't it be
Yeah.
amazing if you just had a group of people around you? They're saying, yeah, let's do this. And they're encouraging you all the time and helping you out when you might be stuck somewhere and they can say, oh, I've done that before. Let me show you how to do that. Instead of saying, look, they don't know how to do that. And
Right.
because that's what's typically out there, we
Yeah,
don't
it
want to
really
we don't
is.
want to help somebody because there's not enough in the world to go around, obviously. And so it's a beautiful thing. So those that don't know, we're in a group that's called, it's a collaborative group.
Hmm.
But it is, I mean, I just can't speak enough about the whole feel of the community and being able to help each other and talk and grow together. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really incredible to surround yourself with people who are also high achievers, but have they just want you to succeed. Everybody in
Hmm.
that group is looking for your success, and it's a comfortable place to share when you succeed. And sometimes the success is I talked to somebody today,
I
or I
know.
did an interview, with only sound, but I did it and I was so scared and my voice was shaking, but I did it and everybody just cheers each other on. And
Yeah.
it's so cool because so often we weren't cheered on. I mean, what have I heard? I feel like I heard somewhere that the last time a lot of people have been clapped for was at their high school graduation. For me, that's been a minute. It's been
Yeah.
30 years, more than 30 years, I guess, this year since that happened. And so for many people, that was the last time they truly felt cheered on. And
Yeah.
so to be in a group of people that really just want you to have success for no other reason than for you to have success is so neat.
Yeah.
It really, really is.
Yeah. I love that. And the saying is that if you want to know what your life is going to be like, look at the five people you spend the most of the time with,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so there's times in your life, I know there was a time in my life where it was like very desperate times, and if I go back and look at the people that I was surrounding myself with, man, the only thing we really had in common is that we were all in desperate times, right?
Wow.
And so it's amazing when you really look at things how it helps you see what's going on more, you know?
Yeah.
Back then,
Yeah.
I didn't even know to look,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, and there's that whole coach mentality, right? You were ready, the
Mhm.
teacher appeared and said, "Hey, did you know that there are people who cheer each other on?" You're like, "No." I thought we
I
only could get
ooh,
together and say what was going wrong. There are people
yeah,
talk about
yeah,
good stuff too.
yeah,
Yeah, I was always kind of afraid of, I don't know why, but kind of afraid of those kind of group, the high achievers, oh, they celebrate each other. But then, Stacy said, "Come join." And I was like, "Well,
so why
I
were
mean,
you
why
afraid,
not?"
do you think?
I don't know. I've maybe it's selfish. I'm often the highest achiever wherever I am.
Mhm.
If there's a problem, uh, maybe it's that first child thing that we talked about at the very
Yeah,
beginning, and maybe I enjoy that more than I thought I did. Going
yeah,
in and just taking care of it, and maybe I thought, I don't know, I've never really explored this until you just asked me this question, but perhaps it's because I wouldn't feel needed. But that hasn't been the case. Like this
right.
fear, it was like I was trying to solve a problem that I didn't have, and it didn't even exist.
Yeah,
So I didn't go for it in the first place,
yeah.
which sounds so silly now that
Well
I'm in it. That now that I'm in it, but again, that Sarah back here who was maybe afraid or nervous
yeah,
did it anyways and said, "Okay, well, let's go." And I love the name of your podcast. I'm sorry, I'm going back to that really
that's
quick
okay.
because so we live in Florida now. We moved here from New York.
What part of Florida are you in?
We're in Central Florida, by Lakeland,
Okay. Mm-mm.
in between Tampa and Orlando.
Okay, I got that
We're
one.
about either 25 minutes or 2 hours from Disney World. That's where my husband
Yeah,
works. It depends on I-4 traffic. And when we first got here, there was this fireworks show, as there always is at Disney. And there was this one, the way Disney sequences it, whether you like Disney or not, that, it's kind of neither here nor there. It's the hero's journey is just what it is.
mhm,
It's like happy go lucky. And then there's this whole part with like villains and there's fire and it's gnarly. And then Moana went up to the top of the castle because it's all these cool projections and she's just breathing hard. And I don't know if you've seen the cartoon Moana, it doesn't matter. You can
yeah,
imagine somebody trekking, and then getting to where they're just exhausted. And she's just on the ground and just like breathing heavy. And you can feel her desperation. And what she sings is sometimes the world seems against you. The journey may seem hard, but wounds will heal and you'll discover just who you are, essentially.
mm,
And then the fireworks go off and it's beautiful and it's magical and it's wonderful. And I kept thinking that that was what I wanted. And so then I would look back on my life and say, well, look at how far I've come. As a massage therapist, they're supposed to last 5 years. I've done it for 25. I shouldn't do that. And so then I started stacking all the things that I shouldn't do,
mhm,
not in a bad way. Like I don't go out and like beat people up. I'm not mean, but all of these things that they told me I couldn't do. And then I keep doing them and watching these dreams come into a reality. And I'm just a normal human. And
right.
it's like, wow, we really do have it inside of us to make this possible. And sometimes we just need somebody to say, no, all you got to do, it's just this one little tiny thing. I see what you stepped in. I
Yeah.
see what's going on. Let me help you. And oh man, you're
Yeah,
gonna love us
fly.
so far. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and then Tinkerbell flies, so then it's
That's right.
magical.
That's right. That's right. So one thing I want to say is that, you said that you typically are because you're the firstborn, you're the one in charge, the one that's the higher one in the groups, right? Did I understand you right?
Yeah, if
Okay.
people sit
Okay.
around the table don't know what to do, and I just take charge. Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I shared with somebody the other day, and this is something that I heard too, and I'm not meaning to be offensive at all, so don't take it that
Oh
way.
wow, here it
But
comes. Okay, I'm ready.
that's right. But if you are the smartest and the most logical person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. All
Yeah.
day. I discovered that in Houston this past week. I loved the mines and the challenge. It was like,
Yeah.
It was like everything lit up in me like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know this existed." So absolutely, I take no offense.
Okay. Okay.
I take it all in because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until recently, and I discovered that and went, "Oh my gosh, that is so true."
Yeah. And so
And I
for
love
those that
it.
don't understand what we're saying is that if you're the smartest person or the wealthiest person in the room, whatever, then you've got to be in a different room so that other people are more knowing, more wealthy, whatever, so that they can help you to lift you up to be even better than you were. But if you're the smartest person in the room, you're either working diligently, constantly pulling other people up, or you're sliding down. It's one or the
Yeah,
other. And either one of them is hell work. So get into a room where you can learn and grow.
absolutely. And I've noticed that at times in my life when I've been in the right room and I thrive and I love it. And what's been fascinating is then I'll talk to my friends who come with me and they're like, "Ah, that was too much or that was exhausting." And so I think I was caught in between this, well, but I want to be with my friends.
Hmm.
But man, my world was changed
Yeah.
and theirs wasn't, which is fine. We all have our rooms that we can hang out afterwards, but
Yeah.
we all have our rooms where we get, I don't know, get lit up. I don't know, that sounds like it's a bad thing, but it just, everything inside of us just goes, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's my thing." Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really neat. Yeah,
Yeah.
so if everybody listening, if you haven't found your room where everything inside of you is just like, yeah,
Yeah.
then find your room, find your
And
people.
when you get in that room, sometimes it can feel like you're scared a little bit
Yeah,
because
yeah,
everybody else is really gung ho and it's going to put you outside your comfort zone.
yeah.
But if you can embrace that feeling, and like one of the things that I tell people when, like, if you're about to step on stage and you're scared as crap, right? Your stomach's, butterflies are going, your heart's pumping, you're sweating and everything. This exact same feel as ultra excitement.
Yes.
Exact same feel. So if you can just turn it around instead of saying, I'm so nervous, I'm about to go out there, say, I'm so excited, I'm about to get out there and talk.
Yeah.
And if you can turn it around, because the feeling in your body is identical, but you're
Yes, it
giving it a
is.
different label. And
Yeah,
so that's one of the most powerful things that I feel I can help people with is being able to step out and and be what they want to be without it holding them, the old beliefs holding them down. And sometimes it comes to something as simple as recognizing these physiological things that are happening in your body, that they're normal, whether it's fear or is excitement. So you might as well look at it as excitement.
absolutely. I think I talk about that almost every day with my clients as
Do you
well.
really? Oh yeah.
Yeah, just it's the same thing. And another thing we often talk about is fear, and people get so angry with their fear. And we talk about just like holding your fear and showing such gratitude. Our body is afraid to protect us. That's our story. That's what we've known. And isn't it so neat that our body and our soul and our subconscious care so much about us to create something to protect us? And it's neat what happens that people go, "Oh, so this fear that it's been protecting me and it's good, so I can just be thankful. And now that I know I'm safe, I can let it go and I can move forward." So it's really cool just reframing something and calling it, acknowledging it what it is, but then
Mm-hmm.
maybe just renaming it, because yeah, the feelings are the same, whether you're scared to death or super excited. It all happens right there in your belly and your chest, and there's all these things happening. And so if you can just go, "Wow, I am really, really excited,"
Mm-hmm.
then your face changes, your body changes, everything
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're getting close to time, and this has seemed like it's just gone flown by. But before we end, is there anything that maybe I haven't thought to ask you that you really want to share with people? Um, I don't know. If not, that's no big deal. I just want to give you the opportunity because I'm just asking questions that I want to know. So,
Well, maybe I will share. um, this is going to sound like a plug for my podcast, which it kind of is, but also kind of isn't. My podcast is called Stronger Than You Think. And I feel like everything that you have said, along with the dreams to reality, is that I hope that everybody listening feels like they have something in them that is worth so much more than they can ever imagine. There's nobody out there who isn't worthy of life, who isn't worthy of love, who deserves to be mistreated or abused. That is absolutely not okay. And that you're so much stronger than you think and than you give yourself credit for. So it's okay to take care of you. It's okay to set boundaries and to make sure that you're okay. I think sometimes we think we have to people please until there's nothing left of us. So we just disintegrate and into, I don't even know, sparkles in the air. But I don't think that's what life is about. Life is about just beauty and happiness. And if you're struggling to find that, and if you know Vicky, reach out to her. If you know me, reach out to me. If you have somebody that you love and trust, reach out to them because your life is beautiful and you are absolutely worthy of the most incredible life there is for you.
Ah, beautifully said. I love that. Thank you. And so I'm going to end with the quote that I always end with, and it is the best way to predict the future is create it. And I can't tell you who said it. I've gotten a lot of people told me different names, but we can look it up. But the thing is that for some reason, that one quote just really grabs my heart, you know?
Yeah.
And so I always like to share that quote.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure. So, all right, everybody, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share for sure because we want to get a lot more people knowing who Sarah is. And we just want to be so supportive of her because she has come on my podcast, and I'm so excited to have had her here. And I feel like I have a new friend.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been just incredible. I have so many takeaways. I have so many things now that I am just going to run with. So thank
Okay,
you.
wonderful, wonderful. So, all right, everybody, I will see you again soon. Mwah.